The majority of the workforce going into World War II we had Hispanic, but we had the Croatian, we had the Italian, we had the Scandinavians. You know, these were the workforce. Very small African-American workforce. During the war, because of the lack of labor, they brought a lot of people in from the South. A lot of African-Americans came in. And as a result of that, after the war, everybody wanted their kid who fought in the war to get in the Union, so they deregistered what they call the unemployed 500, which were mainly African-Americans. So there was a struggle that went on between, 1950 on into the 60s until these guys got back in. But during that period of time, there were still African-Americans in the local. But there was this tension. And African-Americans would not allow them to get on skilled equipment in the port. This was about 1956, maybe 57. There was a gang that my dad worked in, and it was Benny Rebello's gang. He had come from Hawaii. And in Hawaii, everything's integrated. You got every nationality there. They don't identify like we do here on the West Coast, and so he didn't care who worked in his gang. So my dad and his partners, they worked in the gang. When Papa Kelly and his partner, I think Matthews, would come into the gang to work, Benny liked sometimes to take a little break, maybe go have a drink or something. And so he liked guys to come out of the hole and teach them how to drive the winches so he could take a break. So he tells Kelly, "Hey, Kelly, you want to drive winches?" And Kelly says, "Well, I don't know, Benny." And so he gets up, according to my dad, and he's a natural. He gets on the winches the first time. Benny takes off for the rest of the day. He loves having this guy come out. So him and his partner, learn how to drive winches. Well, when you go to the hall, it's a democratic call. If you got the lowest hours and you're checked in on the board, you get the job. So you couldn't prevent an African-American from picking up skilled work, but most of them didn't do it because they didn't have the confidence in the training. Well, these two guys knew they could do it. So they picked up a job. They go out to the job. They get on the winches. They fill the gang out of the hall. The guys look up and they see two African-Americans on the winches. They say, "We ain't working under these guys." So BA comes out. This is all according to my dad. Tells them either you go to work or call a reap or you're fired. So they all reap out. Another gang comes out. They won't work. So I guess Benny or my dad or somebody hears about it, or they call up Benny's gang that's not working that day, and they all show up for the job. And they work underneath Kelly and Matthews. I think it was Matthews, but I'm sure it was Kelly. And that's how they got established. And after that, everybody knew that if you didn't want to work under an African-American when he was on the winches, don't take the job. And there was always guys that would take the job because they wanted to make a living. So that's sort of the way it was told to me by my dad about how the African-Americans got established, first on skilled equipment and later on cranes. But it was always a struggle.